In a time of almost universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Good evening. Welcome. So glad to see you all here. Thanks for turning out in Eugene, where you can hear alternative radio every Tuesday evening on KLCC. It is, as several of you have commented, the one radical progressive piece of programming on the station. And so your support is crucial to keeping it on the air. I'd like to thank David and Michael and Matt and all the others who have worked, and I've left out some names I'm sure, who've worked to bring me back to Eugene. This is part of a pretty intensive 6 days and 6 nights speaking tour of Oregon. I started in Portland on Friday, then went to Manzanita, where I picked up this cold, having been drenched in a torrential rainstorm. Last night in Florence, tonight in Eugene, tomorrow in Corvallis, the day after that in Hood River, and I returned to Colorado for 3 events there on Thursday. I return on Thursday, the 3 events are not on Thursday. And then I come back to the West Coast, actually to Victoria and to Vancouver. So I'm really glad to be here, and particularly in the wake of what happened on Tuesday. And while I'm going to talk about U.S. imperialism, U.S. foreign policy, the Middle East, Edward Said, Howard Zinn, and these disparate issues, I think a few words are needed to flesh out about what happened on Tuesday and why did it happen. I think it's a very significant election which has very ominous components to it. For me, it signifies the victory of magical thinking over facts. And this is very, very serious. It's the victory over science. It's the victory, it's a huge defeat for the environment, because almost every single one of the Tea Party adherents, as well as many of the sitting Republicans and some of the Blue Dog Democrats as well, deny the science of climate change and global warming, which probably means there will still be no further action coming from Washington on this extremely crucial issue. So once again, power is going to end, action is going to have to revert to the localities. You here in Eugene, in Oregon, in Boulder, in Colorado, in the local communities and in the states, we need to take action on this particular issue. Saving the planet, is that something that is a left or right issue? Well, apparently for the ideologues on the right, it is an ideological issue and not something that can be rationally discussed. This election was fueled by rage, and it's not enough to simply denounce and dismiss the Tea Party candidates as a bunch of kooks and people whose opinion are not valid. Many of them are suffering enormously in this economic crisis, and they've reached out for help, for understanding, and the left, what there is of it, the liberal media, which barely exists, has not been providing any kind of answers to their problems. Why have they lost their homes? Why has their hedge funds disappeared? Why have their savings been used up? Why are there no jobs? The actual unemployment rate, if all the figures were calculated correctly, is around 18 or 19%, not 9 or 10%. that means at least 15 million of our fellow citizens are out of work. And so that rage is coming from very real suffering and pain. And of course, all of this is amplified through the cameras and of Fox TV, the 24/7 Goebbels network, that does much to drive public conversation. They're setting the agenda, and we need to set the agenda. You have also the impact of talk radio, where not only these gas bags appear on television, they have their own radio programs, like Glenn Beck, like Sean Hannity, like Bill O'Reilly. Limbaugh himself is just on the radio, but he's kind of been now surpassed by a new generation of propagandists, Glenn Beck in particular. So I want to talk about the media in this country, and about other issues relating to U.S. foreign policy. The election on Tuesday is also a huge defeat for peace in the world, a huge defeat for the possibility of disarmament and the elimination of nuclear weapons, because the right wing is extremely militant, particularly the Tea Party people, who have a certain vision of the United States as a militaristic, militant, bellicose power. And in the words of George H.W. Bush, who said, "What we say goes." That is to say, citizens of the world, bow and kneel and kiss my hand, or you're in trouble. So for the rest of the world, I shudder to think about Pakistanis and Afghans and Iranians and Lebanese and Somalis and Yemen. The wars in Afghanistan and Iraq have now spread to Pakistan, greatly accelerated under change you can believe in Barack Obama. And yes, we can bomb more countries. He has extended the bombings now into Somalia, into Yemen, and in a recent speech, August 30th to be precise, in the Oval Office, he said, as while I am the President of the United States, we, the United States, will have the finest fighting forces in the world. Okay, I mean, this is a kind of, typical nationalistic palaver, that's designed to throw red meat to the military and the Pentagon and the military-industrial complex. I would have loved to hear from this president, or in fact any president, if we can get a president that actually represents the people and not the military-industrial corporate state. I would like to hear a president declare that the United States has the finest healthcare system, the finest educational system in the world, the finest music and art and dance and theater, things that we can really be proud of and hold our heads up high, instead of being a nation of Hellfire missiles and Apache helicopters and Black Hawk helicopters and F-16s and F-35s and aircraft carrier battle groups. That is who we have become. I think we can do a lot better than being an empire of militarism. We can be an empire for peace and justice. And that would be a message that would resonate around the world in a very positive way. Now, this issue of rationality, I think, is also very important, because if magical thinking is allowed to prevail, then we are in even greater danger than in previous times. And I want to read a couple of things from the Founding Fathers. The politicians love to quote the Founding Fathers to justify whatever particular policy they want to enact. and also to give themselves a kind of connection with these hallowed, almost sacred prophets, these slave owners and killers and misogynists and patriarchs that we know as the founding fathers. Again, Howard Zinn has a lot to say about that in his work. This is probably something you've not heard from Thomas Jefferson, and I'll just correct the male-centric language, so you can imagine what it was originally. Humankind, once surrendering his or her reason, has no remaining guard against the absurdities, the most monstrous, and like a ship without a rudder, is the sport of every wind. With such person, gullibility, which they call faith, takes the helm from the hand of reason, and the mind becomes a wreck. Jefferson. Oops. This is Madison. Of all the enemies of public liberty, war is perhaps the most to be dreaded, because it comprises and develops the germ of every other. War is the parent of armies. From these proceed debts and taxes. Armies, debts, and taxes are the known instruments for bringing the men